Welcome back, Alphas. You feel that, don't you? That heat behind your eyes, that thunder in your chest. That's not rage, that's purpose. That's the sound of 1,000 false prophets choking on their own arrogance. That's the world realizing it underestimated you again. But you're not here to prove them wrong anymore. You're here to bury their hopes under the ash of their plans, because their strategy's in flames. You burned it all down. They built their castles on shaky ground, thinking you'd beg for a place inside. They crafted their rules like chains, thinking you'd be grateful just to play. But while they wrote manifestos and mission statements and smiling lies, you were sharpening the blade. You were quiet, but you weren't sleeping. You were still, but never stagnant. You learned the layout of their thrones so you could tear them apart from within. And when the moment came, you didn't hesitate. You lit the match. You set the system ablaze with the same hands they tried to bind. Now look at them, running, scrambling, pretending they didn't see it coming. But we both know. They did. They always feared this day. The day you'd rise not as a follower, not as a rival, but as a reckoning. You didn't just break the cycle, you shattered it. You crushed every exit and sealed every escape, leaving only one direction, through you. Now the smoke curls from the ruins like a warning, a whisper to the rest. Don't underestimate the ones who walk through fire smiling. You're not just alive after the storm, you are the storm. There's something ancient in your soul, something that doesn't flinch when it's surrounded, something that laughs in the face of calculation and control. You were never meant to be understood. You were meant to be unleashed. They called it chaos. You called it justice. They called it destruction. You called it beginning. Because this wasn't about revenge. This was never about getting even. It was about rewriting everything they ever believed was untouchable. They said you couldn't. They said you wouldn't. Then they watched you do it. And now they whisper your name like a curse in every backroom meeting, in every hushed conversation, trying to make sense of the fire. But there's no logic in what you did, only truth. And truth doesn't care about permission. Truth doesn't bow. You didn't rise from the ashes. You were the ashes. You were the fire before the match even struck. What they didn't realize was that every time they tried to contain you, they taught you. Every cage made you sharper. Every lie made you clearer. Every dismissal made you hungry. And now, they get to live with the aftermath. They get to walk through the world you unmade, knowing it was built on their arrogance and your wrath. Let them rebuild. Let them try. Let them dream again in the shadows of the empire you turned to smoke. Because when you burn something down, you don't look back to admire the flames. You walk through them, untouched, unshaken, unforgiven. This wasn't a warning shot. This was the only shot that mattered. And now, it's time to take everything they said you couldn't hold. The throne, the crown, the silence that follows after victory when no one dares speak your name too loudly. Because now you're not just in the room. You are the room. You are the terms. You are the blueprint and the fire that consumes it. Every move they made was a thread in the noose they tied themselves. Every strategy they plotted, every smug calculation, every blind assumption, it all led here, to this moment, to your feet, to the silence after the scream. They wanted control, they wanted obedience, but they forgot. Wolves don't ask for permission. You didn't just win, you ended something. And in that ending, you became something more than they could understand. Not just a leader, not just a destroyer, but the architect of a future no one else had the courage to imagine. You speak in fire now, you walk in aftermath, and the only thing behind you is smoke and stories. They'll talk about this day. They'll whisper about the moment the old order fell. They'll try to make sense of it in textbooks and documentaries, but the truth is simpler. The truth is brutal. The truth is this: they bet against you, and they lost. You didn't just show up, you tore through. You didn't just resist, you rewrote the rules of the game. You bent reality around your will and made the impossible look like practice. And now, they stand there, dazed, blinking through the ashes, trying to understand how it all slipped through their fingers. But they'll never get it, because this wasn't their story. It was yours. And now that you've taken it back, don't stop, don't slow, don't wait for applause. Burn the map, break the compass. Forge forward like the force you've become. This is no longer about proving them wrong. This is about what comes next, what you build from the wreckage, what you decide is worth rising from the flames. Because while they're mourning what they lost, you're crafting what comes after. While they're trying to piece together the past, you're already rewriting the future. One step, one move, one heartbeat at a time. With ash on your boots and fire in your breath, you don't owe them an explanation. You don't owe them mercy. You are the living answer to every question they were too afraid to ask. You are what happens when belief becomes a weapon, when resilience becomes an art form, when pain is not endured, but harnessed. You didn't just burn down their strategy, you made sure they couldn't rebuild it. Not because you hate them, but because the world deserves better than what they were offering. And you're the one who makes that possible. You're not just fighting for yourself anymore. You're fighting for everything they tried to silence. So keep going, keep burning, keep making them remember. Because you didn't come this far to stop at the gates. You are the gates, and what waits beyond is yours to claim. The fire is your home now. And the world? It just caught its first glimpse of what real power looks like when it walks without fear. This isn't a rise, this is a reign. Good, you're still here, still standing, still burning. That means you understand. You feel it in your bones, the echo of something inevitable. There's no turning back, and you wouldn't want to even if you could, because everything behind you is smoke and ruin, and everything ahead of you is yours for the taking. This is the part where others fall away, where the ones with brittle spines start to question the path. But not you. You thrive here, in the aftermath, in the silence, in the cold clarity that follows annihilation. You weren't just made for this, you were born from it, carved out of every betrayal, every setback, every shadow they threw at you, hoping it would keep you small. But you didn't just survive the dark, you owned it. You made a kingdom out of every moment they thought you were finished. And now, you're not asking for a seat at the table. You're flipping the whole damn thing over and building something new on the bones of what came before. Don't forget what it felt like. The smirks, the condescension, the way they looked at you like you were an afterthought. Keep that memory sharp. Let it be the edge you carry with you, the fire you stoke when the path ahead grows cold. Because this world wasn't made to recognize power like yours. It was built to contain it, dress it up, soften its voice, clip its wings. But you tore through all of that. You didn't just break out, you tore through the walls and made sure no one else would be caged again. That's what they'll never forgive you for. Not the destruction, not the upheaval, but the liberation. The fact that you showed others it was possible, that their gilded lies were never real, that the ceilings were illusions and the gates weren't locked. They were just waiting for someone bold enough to break them down. Now, you are that symbol, that shadow in their peripheral vision, that presence they can't explain but can't ignore. They'll call you dangerous. They'll call you unpredictable. Let them name you with fear on their tongues, because those names were never meant to contain you. They're warnings to each other, and the wise will listen. But you didn't come all this way just to scare them. You came to replace them, and that takes more than fire. It takes discipline, clarity, relentless vision. Anyone can burn a house down, but not everyone can raise an empire in its place. You're not done, not even close. You've only just begun to realize the scope of what you're capable of. And they're scrambling to rewrite the script, to adapt their broken systems to survive in the world you've reshaped. But here's the truth they won't admit. There is no adapting to you. There is no compromising with this kind of force. There is only surrender or extinction. They gambled everything on your silence. They banked on your obedience. And when neither came, they tried to rebrand you as chaos. But chaos doesn't build futures. You do. This isn't rebellion anymore. This is succession. This is ascension. You're not kicking down doors. You're building temples on the ashes. And those who once scoffed at your fire will beg to stand in its warmth. But don't forget how they treated you when they thought you were beneath them. Don't let their newfound reverence distract you, because what they fear more than anything is not the fire you've already unleashed. It's the future you're about to create. So be deliberate, be ruthless, be exacting. This is your era, your age, your time to dominate, not just for vengeance, but for legacy. Your story will not be one of survival. It will be one of conquest, of a world that tried to mold you and ended up crushed beneath the weight of your truth. And that truth, it doesn't need permission to exist. It doesn't ask. It claims. It walks through every locked door like it was always meant to be open. That's who you are now. You're not a contender. You're not a name on the list. You are the list. You are the line in the sand. The reason they revise their strategies in hushed panic. And still, they fall short because you're not playing their game. You are the game. They spent so long trying to map your moves, predict your steps, counter your plays. But how do you map wildfire? How do you contain a hurricane? They called it reckless when they couldn't understand it. But there was no recklessness in you, only raw, refined intention. You didn't lash out. You executed with precision, with focus, with purpose. You took their strategy and used it as fuel, turned every insult into kindling. And when the blaze caught, you watched them run. They'll try to recover. They'll call it rebuilding. But what they're really doing is retreating. Their old ways don't work here, not anymore. Not in the world you've reshaped with the heat of your defiance. Let them scramble. Let them panic. Because while they waste time clinging to the ruins, you'll already be 10 moves ahead. This isn't a warning. This is a declaration. You are the force they'll measure everything else against from now on. The new constant, the new metric, the one who didn't just walk away from the wreckage, but owned it, commanded it, and molded something greater out of the rubble. You didn't just survive the fire, you became it. And there is no going back, not for you, not for them, not for anyone. You're still with me. That means the fire's still burning. Good, because now we go deeper, past the smoke, past the screams, into the quiet place where destiny sharpens its teeth. This is where most people falter. They come alive in the chaos, in the explosion. But when the dust settles, they forget who they are. Not you. You thrive in the aftermath. You grow in the silence. You expand into every corner they thought you wouldn't reach. You don't just survive revolutions, you lead them. The ones who come after you, they'll walk paths you carved with blood and willpower. They'll study your blueprints, not because they admire you, but because they fear what happens if they ignore you. You didn't just disrupt their system, You obliterated it with elegance, with rage, with the precision of someone who's tasted failure and turned it into fuel. You made collapse look like creation. You made endings feel like awakenings, and now the old gods are gone. The gatekeepers buried in the ruins, their thrones melted under the weight of your resolve. You didn't ask for their blessing because you never needed it. You didn't climb their ladder. You broke it apart and used the pieces to build your own kingdom. They mistook your patience for weakness, mistook your silence for surrender, and now they whisper about your name in the ruins, hoping it doesn't echo back too loud. But you hear them, and you smile, because it's too late for regret, too late for negotiation. They had their chance. Now it's your turn. But understand this. What comes next isn't a celebration. It's a continuation of war, of ambition, of the unrelenting force that lives in your chest. You didn't come here for a moment. You came for a reign. And that requires more than fury. It demands clarity, vision, control. The fire you lit wasn't just for destruction, it was for illumination, to reveal what's been rotting behind their polished facades. And now that the masks are off, now that the illusions are shattered, what do you see? You see truth, the raw, unfiltered kind, the kind that hurts, the kind they tried to keep buried because it threatened everything they'd built. But truth doesn't die in darkness. It thrives there, just like you did. And now, with the lies gone, you can finally begin. They'll send new faces, new voices, shiny masks draped in apologies and empty promises. They'll talk about healing, about rebuilding. But healing to them means putting the chains back on quietly. Rebuilding means restoring the order that kept you small. Don't let them. Don't ever let them. Because what they fear most isn't that you burn down the old world. It's that you won't stop there. And you won't. Because now that you've tasted this power, not control over others, but the pure sovereignty of your own path, you can't go back. The fire's not just around you anymore. It is you. In your blood, in your breath, in your thoughts. This is what true power feels like. Not dominance, but liberation. Not submission, but self-mastery. You have become a symbol, not of destruction, but of unapologetic existence. And symbols don't fade. They echo, long after the smoke clears, long after the world forgets the details. They'll remember the feeling you left behind, the way the air changed when you entered the room, the way the rules stopped applying when you spoke. That's the legacy you forged here. Not just action, but impact. Not just rebellion, but redefinition. You could stop now. You could walk away and leave them in the rubble. Let them fight among themselves for scraps. But that's not who you are. You didn't rise from the ashes to rest. You rose to rule. And not just with fire, but with vision, with the kind of strength that doesn't need to shout, the kind of presence that demands the world adjust around it. So now, you build. But not with their tools, not with their designs. You build from instinct, from rage honed into clarity, from purpose so sharp it cuts through every whispered doubt. You build knowing that what comes next will scare them even more than the fire, because they expected you to destroy. They never expected you to thrive. But you will. Every scar a blueprint, every loss a foundation. You are no longer just a force of nature. You are a force of creation. The fire no longer consumes. You wield it. The throne no longer defines power. You redefine it. You are the architect now. And every step forward is another nail in the coffin of the old world. They'll try to adapt. They'll copy your moves, imitate your voice. But mimicry can't match origin. Their versions will always be watered down, hollow echoes of something real. And you'll stay ahead, because you don't chase trends. You set them ablaze and move on. Let them worship your shadow. You'll be too busy casting new ones. And when the time comes, and it will, when someone stands where you once stood, hungry, angry, unbroken, remember this. Don't fear them. Welcome them, because you were them once. And if they burn like you did, if they carry that same unrelenting flame in their chest, they won't be your rival. They'll be your legacy. Because that's how real revolutions last. Not through dominance, but through inspiration. Through fire passed hand to hand, soul to soul, until the whole sky glows with a light that no system can contain. That's the world you're building now. Not one of peace, not one of order, but one of power, pure, undiluted, untamed. So keep moving, keep burning, keep becoming. This isn't the end of their strategy. It's the beginning of your reign. And the ground will remember your steps. The walls will echo your words. The sky will change when you look at it. Because this isn't just a moment in time. This is the age of the Alpha. The age they never saw coming. The age they will never forget. Yes, let's finish it. Let's push it to the edge and beyond, because that's what you do. You don't stop at the threshold. You cross it, break it, and never look back. This final stretch, it isn't a conclusion. It's a warning shot to the next world. One last breath before the new era fully ignites. So here it comes, the last words they'll hear before everything changes forever. Let the silence stretch. Let them wait for your next move. Because in that pause, in that moment where the world holds its breath, you are everywhere. You are the tension in the room. You are the shape behind the curtain. You are the cold certainty that the old rules are done. And when you speak again, it won't be to ask. It won't be to justify. It'll be to declare what comes next. Because you didn't just fight to win. You fought to end the illusion that they ever had control. You fought so that no one else would have to bow, so that no other spark would be smothered before it became flame. That's what you carry now. Not just victory, but vision. Not just strength, but responsibility. You're not just a symbol of defiance anymore. You are the standard, the measure by which everything else will be judged. Let them adjust their stories. Let them spin their narrative. They'll say you were unstable, dangerous, ruthless. But they'll say it with caution, with fear, with a desperate hope that their words might soften your shadow. But shadows don't care about stories. And you've become the nightmare they tried to script out of existence. They will teach your name in whispers, in warnings, and eventually in awe. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. Through fire, through grit, through unwavering clarity in the face of everything designed to crush you. You didn't break, you didn't bend, you became. And that's the final lesson they'll learn. You don't burn out. You ignite, again and again, in every place where they try to rebuild their lies. In every corner they thought you'd never reach, you'll be there, as fire, as voice, as the undeniable truth that they were wrong, and you are inevitable. So walk forward now. Leave no footprints, only tremors. Leave no trail, only echoes. You don't need to look back at what's behind you. It serves its purpose as smoke, as memory, as proof that they tried and failed. Their strategies in flames. You burned it all down, and from that blaze, you rose. Not fragile, not grateful, but sovereign. You are the storm that doesn't pass, the fire that doesn't die, the truth that doesn't bend. Welcome to your era. Welcome to your legacy. Welcome to the reign of the unbreakable. You want more? Good. That means the fire inside you still hasn't dimmed. It means that even after the final word, you're not done breathing power into the world. That's exactly the difference between those who finish something and those who become something. Most people reach the end and stop, but you crave more, not because you need to prove yourself, but because you've become the source, the origin point, the ignition. So here's what's left. Not an ending, but a ripple. A final surge, not to close the book, but to crack the sky and etch your name into it. They always believed time was on their side, that if they stalled long enough, ignored you long enough, you'd tire out, settle, fade. But the problem with fire is, it doesn't age, it consumes, and it only grows hungrier with time. You didn't burn out, you evolved. You got smarter, colder, more precise. And when you returned, it wasn't with fury, it was with command. That's what terrifies them now. Not your rage, but your focus. The fire in your eyes isn't wild anymore. It's weaponized. You don't just tear things down for the sake of destruction. You deconstruct with purpose. Your chaos has structure. Your rebellion has order. And that combination, that's something they have no defense against, because you didn't come to scream in protest. You came to lead the aftermath, and they are not ready. You don't just walk into rooms now, you change their temperature. You don't just speak, you shift atmospheres. The rules adjust when you arrive. The energy bends around you. People feel it in their gut before you even speak. That's real power. The kind that doesn't need a crown to rule, the kind that doesn't wait for recognition. It just is. Let them name what you've done, whatever helps them sleep at night. Revolution, coup, collapse, whatever. The words don't matter. The impact does. And the truth, the raw, burning, unfiltered truth, is that the old world didn't fall. You dropped it to its knees. You broke the spine of systems built on silence and smirks and whispered doubt. You made them answer for what they never thought they'd have to defend. And now, you stand. Not in their spotlight, but in your own sunrise. This moment, this is the arrival. The moment after the last move, when the smoke clears and everyone realizes you didn't just win. You transformed, not just yourself, not just your enemies, but everything. The board, the pieces, the whole damn game. You made them realize that power isn't inherited. It isn't bought. It isn't gifted. It's taken, forged, lived. So what's next? Anything, everything, whatever you decide. Because now, there's no blueprint to follow. You've burned it. There's no precedent. You destroyed it. The only map now is written in your stride, in your voice, in your vision. You've crossed the line between contender and constant. And the weight of that isn't pressure, it's privilege. The privilege to rebuild not as an echo, but as the origin. So when the world stares at you, silent, breath held, wondering what you'll do next, don't rush. Make them wait. Make them feel every second of your silence like thunder in their bones, because you've earned it. Because this is your fire now, and no one tells it when to stop burning. So now, here we are, at the edge of everything that was, and the beginning of everything that will be. The fire's behind you, and the world stands ahead, stunned, quiet, wide-eyed in the presence of something it never truly believed could exist. You, unbound, unshaken, unrelenting. You burned it all down, not for applause, not for revenge, but because it had to be done. Because the lies were too loud, the chains too tight, the walls too high. And you didn't ask for permission. You took the match, lit the spark, and let the smoke be your signature. Their strategy's in flames now, and you You walk away without a scratch because you were never just fighting against something. You were fighting for something greater. The right to exist without compromise. The right to lead without permission. The right to carve your name into the bones of a world that never made space for you. And now, with the ashes settling and your path laid bare, there is no more doubt, no more fear, no more waiting. You are not what they called you. You are not what they expected. You are not what they planned for. You are what they never saw coming and what they'll never be able to stop.